whispering, eerie tone. Do you ever get that feeling that you're not alone? That prickling on the back of your neck? The sudden chill that runs down your spine? Welcome to Night Whispers. Tonight, I have 3 stories for you. 3 stories that are not just tales spun from imagination, but accounts of real events. They're the kind of stories that linger, that make you check over your shoulder and question every creak and groan your house makes in the dead of night. Prepare yourself. These stories are real and terrifying. If you love true scary stories, the kind that crawl under your skin and stay there, then subscribe. You're in the right place. Now, turn down the lights, get comfortable, and let's begin. Our first story comes from a man named Leo, who inherited his grandmother's old Victorian house, a beautiful, sprawling property, but one with a dark history he was about to discover firsthand. The house had been vacant for years, a silent monument on a quiet, tree-lined street. The first few nights were unsettling but explainable. The house was old, after all. Floors creak, pipes groan. But then, the whispers started. Faint at first, like the wind whistling through a keyhole, but they grew clearer, more distinct. They seemed to come from the walls themselves. One night, while trying to sleep in the master bedroom, Leo heard a soft, childlike giggle coming from the hallway. His blood ran cold. He lived alone. He crept out of bed, his heart pounding a frantic rhythm against his ribs, and peered into the darkness. At the far end of the hall, a small, shadowy figure stood motionless, just watching him. It was no taller than a child. He blinked, thinking his eyes were playing tricks on him, but it was still there. Frozen in terror, he could only stare as the figure slowly raised a hand and waved. Then, just as suddenly as it appeared, it vanished. The next day, Leo found an old photo album in the attic. In it was a picture of a little girl, his grandmother's younger sister, who had passed away in that very house over 70 years ago. The caption beneath the photo simply read, "Our little Rose, forever playing in the halls." Leo sold the house a week later. He never went back. Some say, on quiet nights, you can still hear the faint sound of a little girl's laughter echoing from the empty windows. Comment below. Would you dare to stay in this house alone? Now, let's move on to our second story. This one happened to a young woman named Clara, a late-night nurse who often walked home through the quiet city streets after her shift. The route was familiar, almost comforting in its emptiness. But one Tuesday night, that comfort was shattered. As she turned onto her usual shortcut, a deserted alleyway lit by a single flickering street lamp, she noticed a man standing at the other end. He was unnaturally still, just a silhouette against the dim light. A shiver of unease went through her, but she told herself she was being paranoid. She clutched her keys tightly in her hand and kept walking, picking up her pace just a little. As she got closer, she could see he was tall, wearing a long, dark coat and a wide-brimmed hat that obscured his face. He didn't move a muscle. He just stood there. Her heart hammered in her chest. She decided to cross the street to avoid him, but as she stepped off the curb, he mirrored her movement, stepping into the street as well. It was then she noticed something truly bizarre. He wasn't walking. He was gliding, moving with a smoothness that was utterly inhuman. Panic set in. Clara broke into a sprint, not daring to look back. She could hear his footsteps behind her, impossibly fast, keeping perfect pace with her own. It sounded like he was right on her heels, but she refused to turn around. She ran faster than she ever had in her life, bursting out of the alley, and onto a busier street, not stopping until she was under the bright lights of a 24-hour diner. She stumbled inside, gasping for breath, and finally risked a glance back. The alley was empty. There was no one there. She never saw the man again, but to this day, she takes the long way home. Every single time. Hit like if this story gave you the chills. For our final story, we head into the great outdoors. 4 friends, Mark, Sarah, Ben, and Chloe, decided to go on a camping trip deep in the Appalachian Mountains, miles from the nearest town. The first day was perfect. They set up camp, told stories around a crackling fire, and enjoyed the peaceful isolation. But as night fell, the forest changed. The comforting sounds of nature were replaced by an eerie silence. That's when they heard it. A sound that didn't belong. It was a faint, metallic scraping noise coming from the dense woods surrounding their campsite. They tried to ignore it, blaming it on an animal. But the sound grew louder, closer, scrape, drag, scrape, drag. It was rhythmic, deliberate. Ben, the bravest of the group, grabbed a heavy-duty flashlight and called out, "Who's there?" The scraping stopped. For a moment, there was only silence. Then, from the darkness just beyond the firelight, a voice whispered back, a dry, raspy sound that barely sounded human. "We see you." Terror seized them. They scrambled for the flashlight, shining its beam into the trees. For a split second, the light caught two pinpricks of red like glowing eyes before they vanished back into the shadows. The scraping started again, this time from a different direction. Then another, and another. The sounds were all around them, closing in. They didn't wait to find out what was making them. They abandoned their tent, their supplies, everything. They just ran. They ran blindly through the pitch-black forest, branches whipping at their faces, the terrifying scraping sounds chasing them all the way back to their car. They never spoke of what happened that night, but none of them have ever gone camping again. The mountains hold secrets, and sometimes those secrets don't want to be disturbed. Which story scared you the most? Let me know in the comments. And that brings us to the end of our tales for tonight. 3 glimpses into the darkness that exists at the edges of our world. Remember, the next time you hear an unexplained noise or see a shadow move in the corner of your eye, it might not be just your imagination. The world is full of whispers, and we're here to listen to them. If you enjoyed these stories and want to hear more, make sure to subscribe, hit that like button, and ring the notification bell to join the Night Whispers family. We have more terrifying true stories coming your way very soon. Until next time, sleep tight, if you can.